And I was like, what are you talking about? I said, these suits you're wearing are bullshit. You have to get real wool. And they went through this whole thing. And I remember going home and crying.
Yeah.
And just going, this was everything my family had.
Right.
And that weekend, I had a couple of friends. They took me out to a real, suit place. I spent $400. This is in the late 80s on what became the standard clothing for me, which was charcoal gray pinstripe, white shirt, the whole thing. And it was more money than I'd ever. I couldn't imagine someone spending $400 on a set of clothing, and that was cheap. But that was the kind of stuff that, no one tells you this growing up in a place like we grew up in.
Yeah.
And it was a body blow. And I had a series of those body blows growing up. Now, I will tell you, and we can talk about this later, I moved my way up the corporate chain of command. I got right below vice president. And you saw my email, so I actually achieved some stuff. But my God, the head trauma involved in doing this compared to somebody who grew up in like North Arcadia or San Marino or
right. Yeah.
And that's what we're up against. And I can see why at our high school half the people dropped out. I get it totally.
Well, I mean, yours is an interesting story, even in the sense from what even just the 5 minutes we talked about it, in the sense that I know that my high school experience was, from what I remember, as being one of, I mean, I didn't know really what was actually happening to me because it was the early 70s and there was lots of new legislation that was getting passed. And, the Civil Rights Act stuff had just happened. All those bills had just, come into play, 8 years before, and my success in something like high school was something that I had not anticipated or it seemed like not a big deal, but a big deal to me at the time, because I grew up in predominantly Black neighborhoods where nothing was really happening for the students. There was nothing but shootings and nothing but, just random acts of violence. And there was not really much learning or much interest in education at all until I moved into the Monterey Park, Montebello area,
which was a better community.
Much better community.
Oh my gosh!
And even there, like I said, I started getting, things started happening for me in ways that, I thought, wow, what's going on here? I'm getting to go to Boise State, all these other things that are happening.
Right, you're the Boise State guy. I forgot. I interviewed for that. You got it. That was right.
You remember that?
That's right.
And which at the time, looking, I mean, I just saw a documentary on Boise State that came out a few years ago, and I watched about 10 minutes of it, and I realized that Boise State was predominantly a kindergarten for Republicans, and I thought, well, what the heck was I doing there? I mean, I got to be mayor,
You were, and you know what? I'm glad you went instead of me, because I would have been Casper Milquetoast in that thing.
Well, I think about why, in listening to you, I'm thinking about why all of that stuff actually happened. And I realized that, even at Sure High School, we had 4,000 kids in that high school.
Yeah.
And I was I want to say the only Black kid until my sister was there, or there may have been another Black kid in the school. And so I'm kind of thinking that I was sort of a test case for the faculty, for the school itself, for the district, in the sense that I think they might have been a bit protective in ways that I was not completely aware of.
Well, don't cut yourself too much slack. My memory of the thing was that we were, and sure was, of the schools in the Meadowville School District, was probably the best high school in the district.